His iPad sat next to the recliner, buzzing with incoming messages. He had forgotten it before, heading out for the evening, and though I could feel the vibrations, I hesitated to look. My gut already knew the answer, but I wasn't sure I was ready to face it. The device was linked to his phone, and I worried that logging in might trigger a notification. He always insisted he'd never cheat, but something felt off. Slowly, I reached for the iPad, bracing myself for whatever truth I was about to uncover. I was no stranger to secrets. Max had checked my phone countless times while I slept, searching for proof of betrayal. While I had never physically cheated, my addiction to catfishing had been a shadow of our relationship, a destructive compulsion I couldn't shake. He had grown used to waking me up with accusations, screaming at me for messages he found. I wasn't used to being the one searching for answers. With a deep breath, I unlocked the screen. The first message that popped up was from his coworker, Eamon. "I can't wait to have your dick deep inside me." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. My hands shook as I scrolled through their conversation, messages spanning over a month. This wasn't just a one-time lapse in judgment. This was a full-blown affair. He had been lying about his whereabouts, sneaking off to be with Eamon while I sat at home waiting for him. And worst of all, he had used the same lines on Eamon that he had once used on me. I wanted to call him, to scream, to demand an explanation. But more than anything, I was scared. I had spent so much energy trying to make this relationship work. If I confronted him, would it all come crashing down? That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, our dog curled up against my hip, our cat resting on my chest, as thoughts raced through my mind. By the time he got home the next day, I had convinced myself that anger wouldn't solve anything. If I wanted to salvage our relationship, I needed to compromise. On the balcony, I gently told him I knew. His reaction was instant fury. Not at himself for betraying me, but at me for finding out. He blamed his actions on my past mistakes, twisting my guilt into justifications for his own deception. We argued for hours before landing on what we believed was the solution. We would open our relationship. He promised to stop seeing Eamon alone. If anything happened, it would be together. It wasn't a solution at all. The first night Eamon came over, I sat on the couch as they curled into each other, completely absorbed in their own world. Jealousy clawed at me, but I stayed silent. I told myself I deserved this, that it was karma for all the years my ex had endured my catfishing. But as I watched them, a deeper pain settled in. He hadn't held me like that in years. When things finally turned physical, I wasn't a part of it. I had always been comfortable in group dynamics, but this felt different, like I was an intruder in my own relationship. Each time we were together, I was the third wheel. Even on my birthday, they asked me to run to the store, and when I came back, I found them in bed together. That was the moment I snapped. Through tears and rage, I gave him an ultimatum. If he wanted our marriage to survive, Eamon had to go. He agreed, and for weeks, things felt better. We talked more, fought less. It felt like we were rebuilding. We even bought a car together, and for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Then, Thanksgiving came. He'd told me he'd be at his mom's house for a few days, helping set up for the holiday. A quiet suspicion settled in me, but I didn't protest. We had been doing well, and I didn't want to ruin that. He promised to pick me, Katie, and the dog up on Thanksgiving morning. When I woke up, I got dressed and called him. No answer. I texted. No reply. As the hours passed, my messages became desperate, but he ignored them all. Then, friends and family started reaching out, confused and concerned. What's going on? They sent me screenshots, photos of him and Eamon, arms wrapped around each other, smiling at his mother's house. They had been official since August, since my birthday. They had simply waited until Thanksgiving to make it public, ensuring the maximum amount of humiliation for me. I stared at my phone, heart shattered. Katie, who had been silently watching, gently said, "I told you one day it would just be you and me." I had to work the next morning, Black Friday, at the candy store. No way out of it. When I arrived, my assistant manager, Windsor, had already seen the Facebook post. She took one look at me and took charge of the store, giving me the space to process. Then my email locked me out. My phone too. I realized with cold clarity that my ex had accessed my accounts and changed every password. I borrowed the store phone to call him, pleading with him not to mess with my job. He finally gave me the new passwords, embedding some veiled cruelty into them. An hour later, Katie called. He's here, with Eamon, and a U-Haul. I froze. He had timed it perfectly, waiting until I was at work to move his things out. I told Katie to grab the cat and hung up. Windsor didn't hesitate when I told her what was happening. Go, she said. By the time I got home, he was gone. He had taken what he wanted, the dog, his belongings, and left. I dropped onto the couch and sobbed. Katie sat beside me, wrapping me in a tight hug. She had witnessed every dark moment of our relationship, and now she was here to remind me that I wasn't alone. The months that followed were brutal. We hadn't paid rent, so we got evicted. We ended up in a condo owned by a slumlord, moving in to find the toilet filled to the brim with shit. But even in that mess, something inside me shifted. I began a slow but steady journey towards self-acceptance, towards radical self-love. I realized I would survive. Not just survive, but thrive. Years later, my ex and I found closure. We acknowledged our mistakes and the damage we had done to each other. There was an undeniable bond between us, a history we couldn't erase. So instead of being people who used to know each other, we chose to be friends. I don't know if I'll ever have another relationship. I'm still figuring myself out, still untangling what love means to me. The idea of devotion on that level again feels like a step backwards from all the growth I've done. But I know this. I'm smarter, stronger, and more confident than I've ever been. Whoever lands me next will be one lucky guy.